Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Waffles RC. So we are back on the mud truck, and where we last left off was I was trying to do rear steer, but these axles, they don't allow for what I had planned, and that was because I didn't take it apart to make sure that, I could do it. So as you see, I have the axle out, and one good thing about being an RC YouTuber, I guess, and this being a very passionate hobby of mine, I have a lot of projects lined up for more videos down the road, which means I buy parts for them. So I have parts for builds that are like 3 or 4 builds out right now. Well, luckily for you, Troy, I have spare AR60 axles. I don't know why I just said spare, because these were destined for another build. I have taken this one apart, and this is the rear axle, as you can see, no knuckles. I have taken this one apart, and it allows for me to do the rear steer. Now we get to do an axle swap on a truck that hasn't even driven yet. So what that truly means is that these axles will now go to that other project, because these will still work just fine, and that one isn't going to need rear steer, so these will be fine. These will go on the mud truck. The only slight downfall, for me personally at least, I know these axles can handle mud trucks. As you saw in the last video, that one and that one both have these axles. I believe in these things. I don't know if these can, but they can have rear steer. So that's what we're going to go with. So I guess what I'll do is start disassembling this and putting knuckles and stuff on it like I had originally planned. And then we can put it back on the truck and then swap out the front axle. So let's just get right to a time lapse of me swapping this rear axle into a rear steer axle. And there we are. The rear axle is in, on, connected. But first I'm going to go over a few things about these particular knuckles. I will not be putting a link to them because they are terrible. And by terrible, I mean it was very tricky trying to figure out how they were truly supposed to go together. The axle shafts had way too much play back and forth, so I had to shim it. I had to add a bearing. That was another task. Luckily, I have spare bearings. I guess what my opinion would be is don't buy these. But we have them, they're on. I figured it out. I don't like them. So there will not be a link to them. But in other news, the rest of the axle and everything else bolted right up perfectly. Now our lower shock mounts, these were turned the other way, sticking out way too far, not allowing tires to turn like that. So basically, I turned it around, drilled a new hole for that one, and there you go. And if anything, I like the way that those rear shocks look a little bit more. They're more, angled rather than straight up and down. So it looks pretty cool. So now I have to do the exact same thing to the front, and I will do the same thing to the lower shock mounts because these wheels need to turn too. Come on. There we go. How long are these studs? No. My microphone is stuck. There we go. All right, so I really like these transitions, so I'm going to attempt it again. So here you see the old axle. There's the new front axle. Editor Mike will let me know whether I did that well enough, or just put a score right over here of how well I did. And yes, I am talking to myself. That's kind of most of people on YouTube. We're talking to ourselves. Next step, now that we have our axles, our final axles on, is this is a personal thing. I'm going to put, so these axles that Troy got have the hex adapters. They're different sizes between the front and the rear. So I'm going to even them all out with bigger ones. And it is really quite simple to do as long as you have, you know, a lot of spare ones. Why? Or in this particular case, stripped. Okay, favorite RC tool. Need something hard. There's a tape measure. That's all that tape measure is really good for. We will be putting new hardware on this wheel. If you have good hardware, like I said, this is quite easy. And you can go straight into the trash. Well, that's upsetting. Please don't tell me that they're all like that. What did he use? Oh. They used Nature's Loctite on this. Also known as cross-threading. Oh, and there's a bunch of broken ones in there anyhow. Okay. So, this person obviously struggled with this, which is why they probably sold them. But that's fine. We shall overcome, mainly because we need to use these. But if I gave this back to Troy like this, I know he wouldn't be happy. So let's just fix it for him. Is that a fun ride for you guys? Because, well, I guess that's why they make GoPros pretty tough. Okay, now that you're not on the edge of falling off again, let us, there we go. As you can see, somebody cross-threaded these, got them stuck, couldn't get them off, and then listed them for sale. So let's put good ones on and, you know, not cross-thread them. There's a thought. It's not like I don't have plenty of hardware for such an occasion. Okay, if you are really concerned about these things falling off, there are two things you can do. One, exactly what the last person did to these wheels. Or two, put some Loctite on them. But when you are installing these, I will say, start these things loose. Like right now, it's all loosey-goosey. Do that on purpose. That way, if you start two, the rest should go in just fine without a single issue. Or you can even do all of them loose. I think these holes are destroyed. That one went in just fine. All right, well, I forgot where I left off there, but I got one wheel with the new hex on there. And I will say this is the issue that this person ran into with cross-threading. Sometimes the holes in these wheels aren't drilled exactly where they need to be. Now, if your hexes are like this, or it has this little flange, that's called the hub centric. What that does is it centers the wheel, or the hub of the wheel, so that's perfectly centered. So if you run into this issue, before you do anything, get a drill bit. Waller out the holes a little bit so everything lines up properly. Don't just send them in, because then you're never going to get them off. Now, if you don't ever want to get them off, then send it. Doesn't bother me any, but I got to do this to all the wheels now, and hopefully I don't mess up the wheels too badly. You won't see it, it won't change anything, because this is what centers the wheel. So, tips and tricks from Waffles RC, or hackery, whichever one you want to call it. Good morning, welcome to another day. Dog had surgery 2 days ago, so been having to focus on him more than RC stuff. But I did get all the wheels and tires on. All the hexes on pretty much every single wheel were messed up. They used, nature's Loctite, but we got them out and wallered out the holes on all the rims. Everything fits. You can now change the wheels if you wanted to. So next thing to do is transmission. Once again, I prefer these forward mount transmissions because there are no slipper clutches. And for something that's going to be bogged down in mud, you don't really want a slipper clutch. Personal opinion, argue in the comments all you like. So when you buy these forward mount transmissions, comes with a bag of stuff. There are really only 3 things that we are going to be using out of this bag of stuff. The transmission, part of the transmission mount, which is this part, which is very tricky to make. So that's why I use that. And then you'll see I just make tabs, goes off of there. Makes your life a lot easier. And the third thing, which I don't feel like cutting out of this bag, is the pinion gear. That's all I use out of this entire bag. Transfer case. Now you could use this transfer case in place of the one that I already put in, that one. But once again, I like that one. And this basically gives me a backup transfer case for the semi, because the semi uses 2 of those. So I probably have like 6 of these transfer cases laying around, so I have lots of spare parts for the 56-pound RC. All I'm going to do is mount the transmission mount onto the transmission, cut some tabs to bolt them on to that mount, and put it in the frame. To me, it's just that easy. So let me do that real quick. I'll bring you right back and we'll move on to the next step. There is our transmission. And as you can see, I made body posts, which are real fun to make. Trying to drill a hole through 3/16. Really fun, but I got the system down now. I also did a rear body mount. These bars are mainly to help support the body. Same with this one right here. That helps support the body. That helps support the body. This is because, well, as you'll see, it sucks the back of the truck down, leveling the body. So we put said body somehow onto said frame. Now I don't know if you guys can see, but the back of the bed sits up pretty high, and I don't like that. So put our washer on, put our wing nut on, and there you go. Now that's sitting nice and straight, which is what I wanted. The reason why I did all the body posts is because now we are on to the part where I need to basically seal the body, sealing off anything from the tires that are going to come up and get into the electronics or the interior, which I just realized is pointless because the windows are all down. But at least it won't come from the bottom. See? I do think sometimes. I actually don't know if I should even do anything there. I think I should just do wheel wells, because the interior is going to seal everything up, isn't it? I don't know. I think I'll do it just because I can. So I think I'll put some sliders on here, which will mostly be useless for the aspects of sliders, but it'll look good. Like that, across both sides. And then I need to figure out wheel wells. That will be interesting. We'll figure it out. All right, let's make these little slider things first. On the basis of that rear body mount, is that the best way to mount a body? No. But Troy really should expect stuff like that when he asks somebody like me to make him an RC. So, you know what? It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Okay, right there. Mark right there. It's mostly level with each other. There we go. Oh, I like it. There we go. I like that. Then repeat the same process on, the other side. But I have to do them side by side. I can't make them one at a time because, well, that would require using a tape measure correctly. Oh, I like that though. Looks good. That's on there to protect it from the rocks, because remember, high clearance. This is a rock crawler, or at least it identifies as one, because I put 4-wheel steer and high clearance. So mud truck / rock crawler. Anyhow, now I need to make inner fenders for this truck to keep, especially the front, because that's where the electronics will be. So I need to keep the mud and stuff out of all of our electronics. So put you on a time lapse. I'm just going to bend this into a shape and make the structure for an inner fender. And I'll explain afterwards why I'm making structures and not going to finish it all. There are our inner fender well structures. As you can see, I left access for the bolts to replace the shocks when necessary. Keyword there, when. Because, well, it's going to get abused. The reason why I'm making the structures and not finishing them is I don't have any sheet metal. Actually, sorry, I lied. Where'd it go? This is all the sheet metal that I have. Not going to work, so that'll be for next week's video. But to finish this off, let's get bumpers on. This truck did have bumpers on the original frame. We got to get them onto this frame. I'm going to mount them separately from the truck. So that'll be fun, but we'll get it done. The original mud truck, it's exactly how I did these bumpers as well. So all I'm gonna do is make flat tabs to go here, hopefully measure it correctly, drill some holes, weld it onto here, bolt it up to those. We'll do the best we can. you have it. There's the front bumper. There is the rear bumper. And like I said, the whole goal behind the bumpers, over here, still in the shot, relatively, so that they stay on the frame just like that. So with these send bumpers, it's actually quite simple because it has all the different hole slots for all the different heights. I just did a flat piece, this one angled because it needed to come out a little bit. Rear one's just absolutely straight. So that worked out perfectly. And the bumpers stay on the frame just how I wanted. So that is it for this thing for this week, mainly because I'm out of time and I have no sheet metal because I didn't plan. This thing is almost done. And I realized I was very ambitious by saying we would drive it this week, but I had to mount the transmission in to get driveline lengths. But now I can measure for drive shafts, get those ordered up. So next week will be sheet metal this whole thing, add weight, spot for stuff. Then I'll slap one of my motors in it, get the drive shafts in it, we'll take it for a spin. Put some steering servos, that might help. It's coming along really well. I'm very happy with how this particular truck has turned out. Did discover that these front knuckles are stripped. Tried tightening them up because they're super loose, and yeah, they're stripped. But I just disassembled one of my other trucks and that got me knuckles. So I'll use these knuckles on these axles, and it also got me the rear knuckles. I know this is another front, don't care, because it works for either one. But what this means, I can get rid of these weight things and just put a normal knuckle back on there for him, because those are bugging me still. Other thing to note, this front tie rod that came with this axle has this thing towed out super far, but I don't entirely know if it's the tie rod itself or if it's because the axle, the C-hubs are so bad, or the knuckles are so bad. But either way, we'll replace it. I have plenty of these AR60 steering tie rods. The back one seems perfectly fine. And remember also, I'm going to program this thing, which Troy, you will have to remember this as well. I'll remind you that I'm going to program this thing so that the front does the majority of the turning and the rear just a little bit, just enough to help it. But I also want to try mixing for the first time. I want to try mixing it so you can turn off the rear steer, so you can have it just go straight, you steer with the front, because sometimes four-wheel steer, especially on particularly top-heavy vehicles, they like to flip over if you're going too fast. So being able to turn that rear steer off would be a nice thing to do. So that'll all be next week, hopefully. Drive shafts, sheet metal, electronics, and test. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all for watching. These videos have been doing really well, so thank you to everybody who's watched these videos. Another thing that would really help is if everybody would go and buy some merch, please. I know times are tough right now, so I don't blame anybody. Trust me, I get it. But any little bit helps. It goes towards keeping all this running for you guys. So thank you all, and we will see you next week. And you thought I would forget, Tim? Mm-mm. You did call me out, but I didn't forget this time. It is now time for the people who stick around to the end of these videos to find out how much this truck weighs at this point in time. Also, if you stay around long enough, you know that I don't mess with this scale. It's zeroed out. Because what am I going to do? Falsify the numbers? Okay, now it's not zeroed out. See, I lied. Now it's zeroed out. That high clearance chassis makes it hard to balance. Good luck mounting that on your wall, Troy. Hold on. We still have our body to put on. it's a lightweight 12 pounds, 2.1 ounces. So, being only 12 pounds, granted we still have sheet metal to put on, I'd say we're on track for our lightweight competition crawler. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next week.